Our first speaker I have known for many years, ever since I was part of District 48. And that is Mr. Jim Sins, who is a competent communicator. He'll be speaking from Pathways Dynamic Leadership Level 1. And let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Sims. He has been a Toastmaster since October 1997, almost before I was born, when he joined the Easy Speakers Toastmasters in Long Island. Over the years, Jim has been an area governor, a new club chair, club coach, and club mentor. He is currently serving as our Vice President of Public Relations for the Carrollwood Toastmasters and puts all of his energy into the youngest and the funnest club in District 48. Tonight's speech all began with an article Jim read in the January 2019 issue of Reader's Digest by magician Nate Stanforth. Jim is looking to share magical words children say, connecting them with Toastmaster speeches, and when done well, can be the art of astonishment. Competent communicator Jim Sims. I fixed Santa a bourbon and water. Jim Sims. I fixed Santa a bourbon and water. Take it away, Jim.
Art Linkletter proved that kids can say the darndest things, including the little boy who, when he interviewed him and asked him, "Do you know Santa?" said, "Know him. I fix him a bourbon and water." So apparently Santa had a good appreciation for some beverages at the holiday times. Art Linkletter was known for the hilarious comments that he was able to garner from children. He later in life became a motivational speaker and an author. He even became an inspiration to senior citizens by encouraging them to live life with zest. And apparently he was drinking his own Kool-Aid, because when he passed away in May of 2010, it was at the ripe old age of 97. To many baby boomers and their parents who watched House Party every afternoon when they were growing up in the 50s and in the 60s, Art Linkletter was an amazing interviewer. He could garner the most unusual comments out of children. As an example, one time he said, "What does your mommy do?" He says, "She does a little housework in the morning, and then the rest of the day she reads the racing form." Apparently, she liked to bet on the ponies. And he was very popular in the television series that ran from 1952 to 1970, and it resulted in 1957 in the book titled "Kids Say the Darndest Things." You may be wondering, how did I get to this point? Why am I sharing with you stories about Art Linkletter and children? Why is that a topic of my speech? Why is he here at all? Let me go back to last week. I was at the pool, and I get a monthly subscription to Reader's Digest. And my wife can tell you I don't always read them. So every once in a while, I'm trying to catch up. So that day, I was reading from the January 2019 issue, and on page 80, there was an article about magic, and it was written by Stanforth, and he spoke about the experience that he had and how he became so much magically involved. The title of the article was "The Magic Trick That Changed My Life." And Nate Stanforth is an American magician who was born in 1982. And Wikipedia says that he is most famous for being on the second episode, the second season of the National Discovery Channel show entitled Breaking Magic, in which magicians taught kids about how they use science in their tricks and in their magic. And so I thought that was really pretty interesting. He talked about when he was on the playground in grammar school, and he made a coin disappear, and all of his fellow classmates were like enthralled with what he was doing. And he performed it several times. And all of a sudden, Mrs. Tanner, who was the the teacher on duty, she strode across the magic of the schoolyard, and she said to him, "What are you doing?" And so he showed the magic trick, and she said to him, "Do that again." He was very nervous, and he did that magic trick, and he performed it. And he said in that article, everything had changed. I will remember the look on her face, the wide-eyed, open-mouthed wonder forever. Sherry Powell, who is a writer, runner, and a mother, wrote an article about where she described that parents are like tour guides. In life, you're very busy, you're showing them the way, you're teaching them all kinds of things, and you don't realize that we're learning a lot of things from our kids. And in fact, she gave a list of 10 things that you could learn from your kids. Sherry shared 10, but being a Toastmaster, I'll go with the rule of 3, and so I'll just share 3 of them with you. The first one is be curious. Children ask questions, they poke into cupboards, and they push buttons. It's important as an adult to remember to be inquisitive, because that's how we learn. And there is always room to learn. When we have a chance to provide feedback at a Toastmaster meeting, we need to do it with reverence, and we need to do it with analysis. We need to really share with people, because as Nate Stanforth said, he's always on the lookout for new ideas as a magician. We need to always be on the lookout for new ideas as speakers. Then a second item that she talked on in her list of 10 is live in the moment. And by living in the moment, you think about kids. If they're playing cars, they're moving cars along the ground and all, they don't get distracted by a self-imposed imperative to all of a sudden go use their coloring book. They stay in the moment. They do what's meaningful to them at that point in time. They live in the moment. And I think about Zoom meetings, and I know we have some friends from around the world who are at Zoom meeting today, which kind of makes it a little magical. But I long for the times when we were there in person, when we greeted each other, and we did that, we had the personal touch. We even had the tavern time once, first Wednesday of each month. But we can't do that under the present circumstances, so the Zoom meeting is the best that we have. So I think that what we really need to do is make the very best of that opportunity to speak in a different manner and in a different way. So I think that that's pretty important to do that. And she also talked about living in the moment. And that is really when we are our most effective. And if we do that, we can become the speaker that we are destined to be. I believe that we should also be passionate. She said that a craft, a car, or a dollhouse can keep a child entertained, enthralled, and busy for hours, even days. When a child discovers a new activity, they embrace it with love and excitement. They put their whole self into the endeavor. And as adults, we need to remember to do that same thing, to use passion when we speak, to use passion when we create a story. Being that we're here at the Youngest in Fronters Club in all of Tampa Bay, all of District 48, we realize that we have John Morse here. We can't use words like great. So that we can remember, though, that some of the things that we can do is to tell our story. When we tell our story is when we're most effective. When we incorporate gestures, that can be done very, very effectively. I'm even urged that pausing can work. That's a good thing to do. And when we do that, our speeches can become far more powerful than your audience even expected. When I retired in 2013, I had the opportunity to be a volunteer with the United Way Reading Pals. And with United Way Reading Pals, I worked with Lewis and Brian. It's a program that works with kids from kindergarten to third grade who are behind in reading comprehension in their classroom. And so I had some magical moments with them. They love to talk about sharks and other dangerous creatures, including they like to talk about the sea wasp. Sea wasp has a terrible sting. It actually existed before the dinosaurs. And most amazing of all, the sea wasp doesn't have a brain. One day, Brian and I were talking about chickens. We were reading a book about chickens. And all of a sudden, Brian, who had chickens in his yard, told me about the rooster. And the rooster ate first, and the other chickens stayed behind. They waited until he was done. And he told me, well, that's a pecking order. And I said, wow, a second grader taught me something. And I'm not sure whether he brought it up first or I brought it up. But I said, that is pretty powerful because you just taught me something. And I think that that is something that is really important for us to know. When we think about telling stories, when we think about the effect that we can have on others, that's pretty important. And I think that that was a day that he could have a certain amount of confidence that I hope will reside with him forever. So Art Linkletter elicited that Santa, like their dad, enjoyed having an alcoholic beverage. Nate Sanaforth, in his book, Here is Real Magic, he satisfied an audience that was expecting wonder. We have audiences at Toastmasters that are also expecting wonder. And finally, a young boy in Tampa learned the importance of the intimate potential that was inside of him. I think that the young voices that we can encounter in our lives become the lattice work of our own creativity, and they can be the inspiration of a Toastmaster story. Madam Toastmaster.